Hello and welcome to this discussion on identifying talent, both at the hiring stage and also for succession planning or promotions. And we are going to discuss hence the difference between clowns and bullies and how to avoid both of them. With this, let's quickly begin. In this age of social media and where we want to project ourselves across to the world and to those who we think can better our chances and our futures, we love to put up an image, and I'm not away from that. I'm trying to project my knowledge to people so that people can gain from it and I can also equally gain from it. We do it because it helps us render an identity for ourselves and helps us to ensure that we also remain sane, because we understand that there's a fine balance between being too social versus being too aloof or too individualistic. Now, in this process of projection, what happens is that we are ending up turning into clowns or bullies. If you look at social media nowadays, the failure videos are a great ways of telling you how desperate people can become sometimes for name and fame. So they don't mind even projecting themselves out as clowns. The other end of the spectrum are the bullies. Look at government, which for one simple mistake will come out with a big law instead of really understanding the issue and solving it locally or finding a way. Rather, people will be up in arms to uphold what they would consider as their own, say for example, ideology. So whether it is the left, the right, the uh, religious ideologies, you do have that other end which is also pretty dangerous. Now, within these two spectrums, what you see is that uh, the bully tendency is more of an individual and an individual's personal beliefs which drives them to it, and you can find it even in very sane, otherwise sane and very good institutions like academics. People are such bullies in the academic world. At least if I had not been a part of it, I would have not known. एनीवे, खैर वो अलग कहानी है. बट मैं ये कह रहा हूँ कि आपको, आप जब भी किसी को देखोगे वैसे आपको पता नहीं चलेगा कि ये क्लाउन है कि बुली है. तो ये पता करना बड़ा ज़रूरी है कि ये जो जर्नी है कि आपने यू हैव लर्न समथिंग, सो एंड दिस इज bereft of and includes all kinds of learning. इसमें ऐसा नहीं है कि खाली एक लर्निंग के लोग बुली बन जाते हैं, दूसरे लर्निंग के लोग बुली नहीं बनते हैं. नो, दैट्स व्हाट आई ट्राई टू पॉइंट आउट, दैट आपको एकेडमिक्स में भी बुली मिल जाते हैं. आई गिव अ वेरी सिंपल एग्जांपल दैट समवन हु इज वेरी वेल वर्स्ड इन मैथमेटिक्स वुड ट्राई टू सॉल्व एवरीथिंग यूजिंग मैथ्स. सो जहाँ पे काइंडनेस की ज़रूरत है, जहाँ पे पेशेंस की ज़रूरत है, वहाँ पे भी वो मैथमेटिकल फार्मूला लगा के आपको समझाएंगे कैसे इस प्रॉब्लम को मैथमेटिकली सॉल्व किया जा सकता है. सो माई होल पॉइंट इन ट्राई टू से इज दैट ये एक्सट्रीम पोजिशंस हम कई बार ले लेते हैं, और ये एक्सट्रीम पोजिशंस खतरनाक है. दे आर नॉट गुड neither for the organization because it could give a very bad name. I see it the most in a certain kind of customer facing areas. I can give you a very good example, in fact quite a few of them, but one of them, let me tell you that one company operating in India, in its hiring forms, refuses to say or allow a person to be identified as male. It says you have to be a cis male or a cis female. I don't understand, or probably the organization itself does not understand the implications of such, that if tomorrow someone puts up a case against them, they'll be trouble for using non-substantiated, non-parliamentary approved terms in their hiring forms. These are dangerous approaches, both legally and socially, and one needs to be cautious, at least on the legal front of it. Socially, it's okay, one can take a call. But even in subject matter experts, once becomes a subject matter expert, one refuses to see the other way of solving things. And this is a danger, because this approach has become the very cause of lack of creativity. If you look at all the inventions in the world, they were done by people who were not part of their world. Right? So today financial banks and financial technology has been changed by non-bankers. So if you do not allow people from other branches to penetrate and come into your area of work, you will not be able to understand how to do work in different newer ways. And this has become the problem for a lot of organizations. Unless you allow some random people to come and try out work, see how they are approaching a problem for you, or you would not be able to be creative and find better solutions. And I find this problem across multiple areas, including mostly in customer service areas. So now coming to what is the danger? The danger, as I said, is being swept away. The point is that up to a point you can save yourself by the licensing methodology, but as governments are expanding themselves and corporations are becoming like semi-governments, and people are not understanding the implications of it, that very large organizations today have become like semi-governments. Think of, and I sometimes dread to see government orders coming in Gmails. Just think what happens if Gmail puts out, what happens tomorrow if Google puts out. Do you understand the kind of collapse you would be in? What if tomorrow Google becomes a bully and says that, okay, I will shut down the search business, or I'm going to charge a hefty price for every search? What will you do? These are signs of danger socially. So we should be very careful about how we are trying to do things. So what are the mid pathways? So the moment we acquire certain kind of a knowledge, we could use that knowledge, and if we rush to apply that knowledge, we would be turning ourselves into a fool. Whereas if we can keep on enhancing that knowledge, add newer layers, modern practices to improve upon it, we would turn into a sage. But it is those sages only who turn into bullies. Similarly, it is those fools who turn into clowns. So, especially when you have to hand over responsibility to someone to manage teams, to someone to manage organizations, it's very important to understand between the sage and the bully, or the fool and the clown. Why do we do it? See, the best part is to keep the sanity at a central point, which means not to become a fool, neither required to become a sage. Of course, because the further dead ends are much more dangerous. So how can we maintain this sanity, or how can we observe or measure how sanitized you are in your social projections? I have written a book on this called Reasoning Our Choices. It's a great exemplar of how we actually choose things. So whether it's choosing our words or choosing what we are choosing, to understand at the back end how the subconscious mind is working. So if you see that one of the core things, I'll not go into detail, but I'll just explain you that at the core is our values of survival, and it would precede anything else in a crisis situation, which is why we often use the term that it is the rats who first flee the ship. It's not because just the rats flee the ship just like that. It's because they value the values of survival. Right? So uh, now, if you look at the other three core factors are the values of ethics, the values of reputation, and the values of physiology, which means that certain people value their reputation a lot. Certain people value, in fact, a very small percentage of people value ethics, and quite a large amount of people value everything from the way they project themselves physically. Now, there are a lot of occupations which are completely physical oriented, be it any kind of sports, be it any kind of the entertainment industry. So they are based on this. Now, these further are influenced by the values of culture, the values of dominance, the values of happiness, and the values of intimacy. So, those interested can read my book. It's available on Amazon and Flipkart called Reasoning Our Choices. You can know more about it. Plus, I'll leave a link back to my detailed description about the book so that you can go and check it. So, what happens is this is how the subconscious mind is working. Now, how will you find out about it? Like if you are sitting across doing mid hiring, mid senior or senior level hiring, you need to be conscious that you are neither hiring a clown or nor a bully. So what we do is we suggest that you look at these four factors, which is your needs, which determine basically how driven are you on your personal aspects versus goals, which are moving from personal aspects to work related achievements, and then from goals to responsibilities, which are about being responsible not only for your own self but for the society and the team around you, to being social, which is the role orientation, which means as a role moves from slightly younger level to a mid senior and senior level, people need to be more responsible and role oriented. How do we measure it? I can give you a very simple example of two questions which could help you understand. Of course, we have this test available with us, so those interested can definitely reach out to us as I help in building such kind of psychometric tests. So one of the questions you may ask someone is that would you like to use your knowledge to make life easier for others? And use a Likert scale from strongly agree to strongly disagree and look at their response. Ideal response should be not strongly agree but agree, and I'll come to that. The second question could be, would you like to use your knowledge to help others become knowledgeable? Now notice in the first case you were asking about making life easier, which means that would someone go on to become a clown if required? We have seen that famous movie by Robin Williams, where he turns into a clown to make children happy. On the other hand, are people who would bring in an extreme amount of ruthless discipline to ensure that the rules of the organization, the laws and the various covenants are very strictly adhered to, which also is pretty dangerous in this day and age. So what you need is neither of them. So you neither need one who wants to make everyone as knowledgeable as them, because they would then end up spending too much of their time trying to bring near perfection, compared to someone who is not bothered about the task in hand but more bothered about making life easier. So which means ideally I should be looking at someone who is okay with a mid position in both of these, against both of these questions. Of course, there is a lot of other factors to check it, but I am talking about as far as the social projection is concerned, because based on social projection is how we look at leaders and hence how we form our own perceptions of them. It is not possible to get inside anyone's head and heart to understand what they think about us. So we can only understand by how they reflect, the kind of words they use, the kind of actions they exhibit. And these tests would help you to do a good job in identifying true talent who's basically a good mid pather but does have the capability of shifting between sometimes being a fool to experiment, to be creative, and sometimes being a sage to point out problems, to find and discipline people into the right path. I hope that has been helpful because what people as leaders need to know are certain of these strategic people initiatives that you can take to uh, improve upon your work life and sometimes do these measurements to find out exactly where the culture of the workplace is going. Because if the workplace culture is too bullish, you know that the organization will not strive for long. Whereas if the organization is too clownish, then also you have a danger of everyone having a lot of fun and no work getting done. I've seen both of these cultures, and I've seen their after effects also. Like I've seen people being so responsible that it takes on to sometimes an irritating bit. So I hope you enjoyed this conversation. You enjoyed what I've shared today, and I'll definitely pick up more such topics on psychometrics and talk about it in the near future. I look forward to your support, and I thank you for all the support till now. And steer clear, don't be